नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 18. King Yayati regains his youth. Text number 26. Vrishaparva tam Ajnaya Vrishaparvatamajnaya Vrishaparvatamajnaya Pratyanika Vivakshitam Pratyanika Vivakshitam Pratyanika Vivakshitam Gurum Prasadayan Murdha Gurum Prasadayan Murdha Gurum Prasadayan Murdha Padayoho Patitaha Pathi Padayo Patita Pathi Padayo Patita Pathi Vrishaparvatamajnaya Pratyanika Vivakshitam Gurum Prasadayan Murdha Padayo Patita Pathi. Vrishaparvatamajnaya Pratyanika Vivakshitam Gurum Prasadayan Murdha Padayo Patita Pathi. Vrishaparvatamajnaya Pratyanika Vivakshitam Gurum Prasadayan Murdha Padayo Patita Pathi. Vrishaparvatamajnaya Pratyanika Vivakshitam Gurum Prasadayan Murdha Padayo Patita Pathi. Vrishaparva, the king of the demons, Tam Ajnaya, understanding the motive of Shukracharya, Pratyanika, some curse, Vivakshitam, desiring to speak, Gurum, his spiritual master Shukracharya, Prasadayat, he satisfied immediately, Murdha, with his head, Padayoho, at the feet, Patitaha, fell down, Pathi, On the Road. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. King Vrishaparva understood that Shukracharya was coming to chastise or curse him. Consequently, before Shukracharya came to his house, Vrishaparva went out and fell down in the street at the feet of his guru and satisfied him, checking his wrath. Please repeat this translation. King Vrishaparva understood that Shukracharya was coming to chastise or curse him. Consequently, before Shukracharya came to his house, Vrishaparva went out and fell down in the street at the feet of his guru and satisfied him, checking his wrath. Text 27, I'll read by myself. Kshanardhamanyurbhagavan shishyam vyachashtabhargavah kamosya kriyatam rajan nainam tyaktum ihotsahe. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. The powerful Shukracharya was angry for a few moments, but upon being satisfied, he said to Vrishaparva, "My dear king, kindly fulfill the desire of Devayani, for she is my daughter, and in this world I cannot give her up or neglect her." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes a great personality like Shukracharya cannot neglect sons and daughters, for sons and daughters are by nature dependent on their father, and the father has affection for them. Although Shukracharya knew that the quarrel between Devayani and Sharmishta was childish, as Devayani's father, he had to side with his daughter. He did not like to do this, but he was obliged because of affection. He plainly admitted that although he should not have asked the king for mercy for his daughter, because of affection, he could not avoid doing so. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is a very interesting chapter in which Bhagavatam enlightens us that material existence, life in the material world, is entangling. Shukracharya is a Brahmana. That means he is learned. He is intelligent. He knows the scriptural injunctions. And yet, in his particular position, as a family man, as a father of a daughter, even though he should not have done something, he is obliged to do it against his wish, against his knowledge. Knowingly, he is doing something which he should not do. So from this we can understand material existence is not at all desirable, is very, very difficult. There are people who don't care for any Vedic injunctions and they commit sinful activities. They act whimsically. They are anyway entangled in this world very badly. They simply suffer and they degrade themselves also because of their sinful activities. But even those who are learned, those who are wise, those who are knowledgeable and pious people, Shukracharya is knowledgeable, he's learned, he's wise, he's a powerful Brahmana, he has performed austerities, he has got so much power. You can imagine how powerful he is. He can bring back dead people to life if they had died untimely and their body is intact. It's called Mrita Sanjeevani. So such a powerful Brahmana, just because of his affection for his daughter, he is obliged to go to the king and ask for some favor. A Brahmana never asks for favor from anybody. So much so that the example is given in the Krishna book. This Brahmana Sudama, who was Krishna's classmate in Gurukul, he was living in utter poverty. Of course, he need not have lived like that, because a Brahmana, he gives service without asking for any remuneration, without asking for any money. Now, if people give him some dakshina, he accepts for the service rendered. But if they don't give, still his service continues. He never denies, never refuses anyone. So it so happened, Sudama, Brahmana, sometimes he would not get any dakshina, either because nobody is coming to visit him, or even if they come and visit him and take some service, they don't give dakshina. So whatever be the reason, for many days, weeks, months, he had not eaten a proper meal. He was actually just living on water. So he becomes so emaciated. Now the scriptures say for a Brahmana, begging is allowed. And when a Brahmana goes begging, at least in the Vedic culture, people will be very gladly giving him dakshina, giving him some dana. But Sudama would not go and beg. This is the standard of a Brahmana's living, that he is independent. Because the moment you go and beg, you become obliged. Just like now Shukracharya. He is giving service to the king, but not in exchange for anything in return. Why? This is the standard of a spiritual aspirant, totally dependent on Krishna. And if Krishna sends some food or some grains or some money, he accepts. But if people don't come and give on their own, then a Brahmana will not beg generally. Of course, such Brahmanas are very rare. At least to maintain his body, if there is no food, he'll go and beg. Dana or Dakshina. But Sudama was so enlightened that he would not go and beg. And even when his wife requested him, please go and meet your friend Krishna. So he was initially hesitant to even go and meet Krishna. But later on, when his wife persisted, he decided to go just to meet him, not for asking him anything. Even after going to Krishna, he never asked Krishna anything. So this is the standard of a transcendentalist, an aspiring spiritualist. Total dependence on Krishna. Now here we see Shukracharya, just because of his affection for his daughter was insulted by the daughter of the king, the princess, and then she came and complained. Shukracharya became angry. And he became so angry, immediately he went to the king. And the way he went to the king, it is described here. This king understood that Shukracharya was coming to chastise or curse him. He could make out. He's very, very angry. Something has happened. So before Shukracharya could even enter the palace of the king himself went out to receive, immediately fell at the feet of Shukracharya and satisfied him, and immediately Shukracharya's anger subsided. And it is described here, Kshanardha Manyur Bhagavan. Bhagavan means he is very, very powerful personality, powerful Brahmana. But even he lost his temper. He became angry. He became angry. And when he saw his disciple, the king, Vrishaparva, so humbly bowing down to him, immediately he gave up his anger. But in spite of giving up the anger, he said to the king, my dear king, kindly fulfill the desire of Devayani, means his daughter. Because she is my daughter, and in this world I cannot give her up or neglect her. Of course, it is the duty of the father to maintain the daughter. As Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, sometimes a great personality like Shukracharya cannot neglect sons and daughters, for sons and daughters are by nature dependent on their father, and the father has affection for them. So here it is not to be considered wrong on the part of Shukracharya to maintain his daughter, but it is not correct on his part to act in the way he is doing out of affection for her. So, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, although Shukracharya knew that the quarrel between Devayani and Charmishta was childish, these two girls, some quarrel they got into, whatever be the details of that. And the details are also described. It was a childish quarrel. He knew it is childish, still he had to take the side of his daughter out of affection for her. He could have pacified her himself. No, he didn't pacify her. Instead, he became angry. This is all out of affection. So, this is an example of material attachment or material affection coming in the way of spiritual advancement. When somebody becomes obliged materially, they become entangled. And entangled life means cannot progress spiritually, simply get bound up materially and engage in a hard struggle for existence. This is a defect of this material world. This is a defect. Even though one may be learned, even though one may be very strictly following all the rules, regulations of civilized life, still, if there is attachment or affection, material attachment or material affection, then that becomes the cause of entanglement, increased material bondage. Consequently, one cannot make spiritual progress. Even if one is following the spiritual principles, still one cannot make progress. In contrast to this, the example is given in the Chaitanya Charita, in the Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita about the difference between the pure devotee's love for Krishna and the material love, so-called material love, which is nothing but lust that goes on in the name of love in this material world. What's the difference? Let's try to understand from the Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Of course, in the Bhagavatam, some details are not given, but Chaitanya Charitamrita analyzes. Here, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, is explaining to us what is the nature of lust and what is the nature of love. What is the difference? He says, Kama and Prema. Lust is called in Sanskrit Kama. And love is called Prema. He says, Kama Prema Donha Kara Vibhinna Lakshana Lauha Ara Hema Yaiche Swarupe Vilakshana. The meaning of this verse is, lust and love have different characteristics, though they appear like both are same. Just as iron and gold have different natures. This example will make it very clear. What's the difference between lust and love? They're as different as iron is from gold. From the point of view of material analysis, iron is metal, gold is also metal. Both are metals. But there is a lot of difference between iron and gold. Lot of difference. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, one should try to discriminate between sexual love and pure love, for they belong to different categories with a gulf of difference between them. Very, very, very big difference is there. What is that? They are as different from one another as iron is from gold. So next verse, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives us a definition. What is lust and what is love? And he explains it also. Atmendriya priti vancha tare bali kama. Krishnendriya priti ichha dhare prema nama. One is Atmendriya priti. Other one is Krishnendriya priti. So what's the meaning of this? The desire to gratify one's own senses is kama or lust. But the desire to please the senses of Lord Krishna is prema or love. So very, very, very big difference between lust and love. Ordinarily we see in this material world, a girl may have some love for a boy. We say love, but actually what is it? It is lust. The gopis have love for Krishna. And when Krishna incarnated, they appeared like young girls and Krishna appeared like a young boy. So their love affairs may seem like love affairs of ordinary girls and boys in this material world. And the behavior of the gopis is very difficult to understand. That apparently it looked like they are attracted by Krishna's beauty. Krishna is the most beautiful, charming, handsome young boy in Vrindavan. And gopis are very, 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 very beautiful girls. Like it happens in this world normally. Beautiful girls are attracted to beautiful boys. And vice versa also. But everywhere in the scriptures, the warning is given that the love affairs of Radha and Krishna, or the gopis and the Supreme Lord, are not like ordinary love affairs of this world. They are completely transcendental, and they should not be mistaken. Neither should anybody try to imitate these activities of the gopis in their service to Krishna, devotional service to Krishna. So, to understand this love of the gopis towards Krishna, Prabhupada says, the revealed scriptures describe pure love as follows. Sarvatha dhvamsa rahitam sati api dhvamsakarane yad bhava bandhanam yuno saprema parikirtitaha. That's a definition. Another definition of love. First definition we heard. Strong desire to satisfy Krishna's senses is love. Strong desire to satisfy one's own senses is lust. Now, another definition of love here. If there is ample reason for the dissolution of a conjugal relationship, and yet such a dissolution does not take place, such a relationship of intimate love is called pure love. So, pure love is such that it never breaks, even if there is every reason for such a loving relationship to break. So Srila Prabhupada explains the predominated gopis were bound to Krishna in such pure love. Predominated. Remember this word. Krishna is the only predominator, and everyone else, including the gopis and all devotees, they are predominated. That means Krishna is the independent, self-satisfied Supreme Lord, and everyone else is dependent on Krishna for everything. So the pure devotees, they never try to be independent of Krishna. On the other hand, they completely depend on Krishna only, Krishna alone for everything. And in this way, their life or their existence is pure. And that is the actual position of each one of us. Our position is to depend on Krishna. And Krishna is the actual maintainer of everyone. Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. He is the only one who satisfies everyone's desires, both material and spiritual. It's Krishna only who satisfies. Nobody else can satisfy. Though in the material world it looks like so many other people are helping me satisfy my desires or trying to fulfill my desires, but that's the action of the illusory energy. It is illusion which makes us think like that or makes us believe that or appears like that. Like in this case, obviously the daughter is dependent on the father. But as we can see from this detailed description in the later verses, Shukracharya, even though he tried to satisfy his daughter, but he was ultimately not successful. His daughter was satisfied for the time being. And later on again she came complaining against the same daughter of the king. Again, Shukracharya got into another predicament later. So that will be described as this pastime is explained in this chapter, this incident. So it is not possible for anybody to get their desires fulfilled either by themselves or with the help of others. Only Krishna is the maintainer and everyone else is maintained. But the power of illusion is such that it appears like there are so many people who are dependent on some other maintainers, somebody else who's maintaining. Like parents naturally maintain their children. But actually, that is not the fact. So we have to understand from the scriptures the reality of this material world. That due to illusion, it appears like that. It appears like that. But the whole material world is working by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, who directly and indirectly is actually providing for everyone and fulfilling their desires. Indirectly, through his material energy, Krishna has arranged. Durga Devi, she is maintaining on behalf of Krishna exactly according to the direction of Krishna, directions of Krishna. Everyone, she maintains. So therefore, she is sometimes called the universal mother. In North India, so much why North India, even South India also. Amma, Amma, Amma. In North India, Mata, Mata, Ma, Mata Di. So much they go and worship her and try to appease her with so many material desires. So the fact is, Krishna indirectly maintains all of us or fulfills our desires through his material energy, through Durga Devi. And directly also he maintains us and fulfills our desires because he is seated in our heart as Paramatma. And as Paramatma, he is directly providing everything. He gives us intelligence. He gives us knowledge. He gives us remembrance. He digests the food we eat. He is facilitating our breathing and thereby living in this body. He is present as Pranavayu, and the Pranavayu circulation is making this machine work. It is like the electrical current which is flowing in this body, because of which all the organs are working. So directly also Krishna is the maintainer as Paramatma. He is a provider, he is a supplier. And indirectly through material nature, this we can understand, indirect arrangement of Krishna. Like we're totally dependent on nature. Just like Prabhupada many times says, we are proud of the so-called material advancement. So we have got factories producing huge quantities of nuts, bolts, all kinds of machines, and nowadays mobile phones and so many electronic gadgets. But ultimately, when it comes to eating food, which is a very, very, very basic necessity, annad bhavanti bhutani, you cannot eat nuts, bolts, mobile phones, electronic gadgets, which can be produced in the factories by the millions, billions, trillions, any quantity they can produce. You have to depend on food, and that food is only possible by cultivating the land, earth, Mother Earth. We say Mother Earth because unless Mother Earth provides us with grains, vegetables, fruits, we cannot survive, we cannot live. So ultimately, even the factories are dependent on the supplies from the earth for the raw materials. Like now they are talking of so much electric vehicles, but electric vehicles require batteries, and these batteries are dependent on some minerals which is mined in some countries coming from the earth. Who can produce minerals? They cannot. They have to mine from the earth. So ultimately, we are totally dependent on Mother Earth for everything. For everything. We're dependent on Mother Earth. So at least a sane person can understand that if not directly, indirectly we are dependent on Krishna. Because material nature is controlled by Krishna. Maya adhyakshena prakritihi suyate sajjarachara. So Krishna is the maintainer, but under illusion we are thinking somebody else is the maintainer, or sometimes we think I'm independent, I can maintain myself. Yes, you can maintain yourself so long as your body is in proper condition. And even if you have money, money can buy provided something is available in the market. Money is useless when we cannot, Mother Earth does not supply, then money is useless. So, we have to become wise and intelligent by hearing from the Shastra, from studying the scriptures, that ultimately we are dependent on Krishna alone and nobody else. So, bhakti means directly accepting Krishna as our only maintainer. Directly declaring our dependence on Krishna alone. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam praja. You come under my shelter exclusively. Because what happens to those who come under Krishna's shelter exclusively? immediately their struggle for existence in this material world is finished. No more struggle for existence. No more struggle for existence. All anxiety, all uh, problems, all scarcity, all difficulties, everything is finished. Over. Moment you come under shelter of Krishna directly. And in our present condition, we have become habituated to so many other dependencies. So there is a process, bhakti yoga, by which you can gradually, if not immediately, can gradually come out of all these false dependencies. But the acharyas warn us that in the name of spiritual life, it doesn't mean that you don't do your material duties. As long as the body is there, material body is there, you should not neglect your material duties. Just like the duty of the parents towards the children, or duty of the children towards the parents, should not be neglected. This the acharyas are warning us. Sometimes in the name of spirituality, some irresponsible people, they leave home and go away. I know a few cases. I've heard of that. Just walk out of home. I should not be attached to my family members. But that is irresponsible way of prosecuting spiritual life. There is something called grihastha dharma. Grihastha dharma is when one is living in family. The family duties have to be performed. But the difference is, a devotee also performs family duties. A materialist also performs family duties. The difference is, the devotee does it without expecting anything in return. The devotee does all the duties without expecting anything in return. Like sometimes nowadays parents say, what are the use of, taking care of the children and providing for them in every possible way? When they grow up, they will just abandon us and go away. But this is not the attitude of a devotee. Whether when the children grow up, they are going to take care of us or not take care of us, we have to do our duty. We have to do our duty. Then what do I do for my own needs? You depend on Krishna. Learn to depend on Krishna. Common sense, you can see all around you. Those parents who have children, they lament when the children go away, let's say to foreign countries, and settle down there and don't come back. Then the parents will be lamenting. I did so much for my children, now they are not taking care of me. They don't bother about me. What about the parents who don't have children? What about them? Whom can they depend on? Somebody may say the husband will depend on the wife will depend on the husband. That also works to a limited extent. Every material arrangement is limited, conditional, highly conditional. It is not a fail-safe arrangement. We see it all the time fails. Sooner or later it's going to fail. All material arrangements are like that. So actually, wisdom dictates that we learn to depend on Krishna. And how does Krishna actually help his devotees or arrange for his devotees? Krishna need not personally come in front of you and say, yes, here I am, Krishna, your maintainer. No, need not. He can, but for better reasons, he does not come in front of you. Because right now, we are not in a position to accept Krishna. So Krishna arranges. He has got millions and billions and trillions of agents in this world. He arranges. He is seated in everyone's heart. Just like it happens sometimes that somebody is walking on the road and they fall down. Then some stranger passing by, oh, somebody is fallen down. So then they try to find out who is this person, take him to the hospital or contact his relatives and try to inform them, try to help that person. So how does this happen? It is Krishna who is seated in the heart of that stranger, and Krishna is seated in the heart of the person who is in need of help. So Krishna arranges. Unless Krishna gives the inspiration, it will never happen. Every moment, Krishna only inspires action for every living being in this material world. So, we should understand by studying the scriptures, hearing from the scriptures, that we are dependent on Krishna and we should acknowledge that and become relieved of all anxieties and come out of illusion. What is the benefit of bhakti? Not that because of bhakti only Krishna will maintain you and those who are not devotees, Krishna does not maintain. No. Krishna maintains everyone regardless of somebody is a devotee or a non-devotee. But the difference is, for the devotees, they are not in illusion that I am independent or some material arrangement is a safe arrangement for my maintenance. No. Devotees are never an illusion. Secondly, devotees are free from anxiety. Dependence on Krishna means freedom from anxiety. Because who can be a better maintainer than Krishna? The Supreme Lord, unlimited, powerful Supreme Lord. He will never fail. Other arrangements, they are limited in every way. So they may work, they may not work. But Krishna will never fail. He declares that in the Bhagavad Gita. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. So therefore, while performing your duties, without expecting anything in return from the people whom you are giving service, you should actually practice Krishna consciousness and learn to depend on Krishna. And unless you actually experience that Krishna's support, Krishna's help, you don't develop the faith. How much ever you hear or read or try to reason, that's not enough. You should actually depend on Krishna and see what happens. You can be assured that Krishna will never fail you. Never, never, never. But that faith to develop, no, you have to develop that faith, even though you may hear something. But when there is danger, the mind goes towards some material dependence, it doesn't easily go towards Krishna. Even if we're reminded, we think that, oh, what Krishna can do? I have to be practical. So you should actually learn dependence on Krishna by first of all beginning to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By chanting and hearing the sound, your heart becomes cleansed of so many misconceptions. You slowly come out of illusion. And then Krishna becomes a reality for you in your life as you keep on chanting and associating with devotees and hearing Krishna Katha regularly, taking prasadam. All the devotional activities, they will help you to actually realize Krishna as a real person, as actually a person in your life who's always active. He's right in your heart. And you can feel that when you chant Hare Krishna. Your whole perspective changes in life. And then gradually, your dependence on material arrangements and material things will come down, proportionate to your dependence, increase in dependence on Krishna. It's automatic. You simply have to experience this by actually following the principles of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness is something very practical. It's not simply some philosophy. It's not simply some sentiment. It is very, 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 very practical. Speak to devotees who are well established in Krishna consciousness and hear from them about their own life, how they depend on Krishna and what experiences they have. So that will give you confidence, that will give you strength, actually, in practicing Krishna consciousness. So please, every day, chant Hare Krishna and accept the other items of practicing bhakti, like worshipping Krishna, accepting remnants of food offered to Krishna as prasadam. Very, very simple practices, but very powerful and very effective if you do it every day. You do it every day, and then it will work for you. It will work when everything else fails, it will work. None of the material things are going to be always dependable, material arrangements. More so in our present age. So therefore, our request is that you take up this practice of Krishna consciousness very seriously, and then you get all the benefits. I'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Some announcements. On 3rd February, Friday, we are celebrating Nityananda Trayodashi, appearance day of Lord Nityananda. Nityananda is Balaram himself appearing as a devotee in order to teach us bhakti. So the program is at 6 p.m. Not 6 p.m. onwards. Abhishek for Gaurnitai deities, and then Arati, Kirtan, Prasadam. 3rd February evening, Friday. That's all. On that day, devotees fast till noon on 3rd February on account of Nityananda's appearance. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.